Alright team, we're now going to address the new customer return policy and structure. Previously, invoices were essentially modified, or new invoices were created when a product was to be returned. And oftentimes we would give a customer a credit prior to actually viewing the goods, and then we could sometimes get in a bit of trouble or an awkward situation based on the fact that the goods returned were not in a resaleable condition, and then we have to go back and deal with that. So the concept here is that returns are separate to invoices. They will be credit invoices. So from now on, if somebody contacts the store, any store, and says that they wish to return something that has been delivered, not cancelled off an invoice, that's a different story. Cancelling off an invoice means that it hasn't been delivered as yet. But if it's been delivered, then a customer return request form must be sent, and they must go through that process. If it's approved, if the return is approved, then we'll take steps to inspect the item and then issue a credit separately. Let me make it clear that if the customer wishes to place a credit against something they wish to buy on the spot, so for example they bought something on Friday, they came back on a Monday and they said, I wish to return this to you and in the showroom and buy something else here, I need a credit invoice and to go back the other way, the answer is no. If they wish to buy something else on the spot, that's absolutely fine. They may do so and pay for it in full and have it delivered separately. The return must be assessed, and the return must be assessed. There's a couple of scenarios depending what state it's in. Let's just start with what we need to do when a customer contacts us for a return. So we're back in Form Central here. This is Form Central. This is a form that I've created, and I'll just open up Outlook to pull up emails here. All right. So very simply, if customer contacts you, okay, there's a draft email. It's called a customer return request. We're going to open it, have a quick look. Very much like the Cerberus request one, it's got the form enclosed, which is openable. You can fill it in with all the relevant information: date, first name, last name, invoice number, address, city, phone, state, postcode, email address, and now I've allowed 3 different columns for 3 different products of that invoice: quantities and date of delivery, the reason for the return, and down here are some checkboxes. Are the items unopened and in brandy condition? Well, they need to be for us to accept a return. So if somebody says no to this, then ultimately this will be refused. Are the boxes marked with damages anywhere? Again, if the boxes are marked, like bathroom 1, bathroom 2 for the house, that's problematic. We can't resell it as a new product, it's second-hand. Have they been installed? Naturally, if we get a yes to this, then that's an automatic no. All of these essentially mean an automatic no. So after a reference number will be provided after it's assessed, and a returns team member will address your request and be in contact within 72 hours of receipt of this form, or, well, actually a return of the item, but in any case, and submit. So this submit will send this through to service@acsbathrooms.com.au. That's option 1. Option 2 is for them to click on this hyperlink, which will open separately in a browser, and they can fill the form out online. Page 1, page 2, it's the same thing. And you can see that when I try to hit next without filling this in, please enter a value. These are necessary fields. They must be filled in, otherwise they can't progress. Just minimize this. So once this happens, once the customer has filled that information in, we send this email and they fill the information in. Then basically an email is received by anybody who's subscribed to the service at acsbathrooms.com.au email, and that will come through to your inbox. At that time, you can go to responses. This form has no responses currently, but maybe we'll do a quick dummy one just to understand. So we'll go to the draft and this time we'll choose the online option, and we'll just do a very quick run through, and just to say that it's the 21st of the 2nd today. We'll refer back to the sample we've been using, which has been Jones & Co. So we'll just have Mr. Jones at, no, try it again. Mr. Jones. Having a shocker, sorry. It was 804.640, the sample we've been using all the way through these tutorials. This doesn't matter, this is just a sample. Jones Street, Sydney, New South Wales, 2000. And again, just a dummy, so we'll just use our service address. Obviously that will be the customer's email, because he'll be filling this out, store of purchase, link code. Next, product code. Alright, so let's say this customer, this particular invoice, if you recall, I'll bring up the invoice just quickly, so in case you haven't been watching the other tutorials before this one, we have been using a dummy. No, I've already got it open. This particular customer, going back to the invoice tab, he bought a Vola 3 toilet. So we're just going to say that he bought it, had it delivered, and wishes to return it. So a Vola 3, excuse me, is what they wish to return. They wish to return one, and the date of delivery, we'll say it was the 13th of the 2nd there, as per the invoice. All right, so one is required, one lot of fields. These other fields are not necessarily required, obviously, but that's if they have more on there. Describe, not too big for space. This happens. Now, it's at this point where I'll mention that 30 days. 30 days from the receipt of the goods is when we will potentially accept a return. And there's quite a number of contingencies here, whether it came from a supplier, whether it was a custom order, whether it was from our stock. But 30 days is the maximum. If it's beyond 30 days, so if it was January 1st, it was delivered, and then we were contacted even February 3rd, and it's gone past that 30 days, we absolutely don't need to accept any return of that item. Many things could have happened. Prices could have changed. Boxing could have changed. Designs could have changed. And we'll just say yes to these. We just went through these, so this will be an acceptable return potentially, and we'll submit. All right, thank you for completing the form. So if I now go back to Forms Central for Acrobat on the computer, you'll now see that we have a submitted form, a new form for this particular customer, Mr. Jones, and it's all there in spreadsheet format. As I go down here and scroll across, all the information there is there. And just like service request, it's at this point that we want to download it as a PDF form, because we need to save a copy for our own purposes. We download, move that out of the way so we can see information there in front of us. Download and look, this will be in an area. At the moment I've got it in test folder, excuse me, but there will be a returns folder individually, and we want to put this one is a cut, not an internal this is different. We want to look at customer returns. Alright, then there's going to be approved and there's going to be declined. Okay, So this one we're treating as approved, and the way we're going to code these is customer return request approved or declined. Obviously, if it's approved, it's going into the approved folder. And we're naming the end of it the invoice number, 804640. So that's an approved form. Okay, that's going to be the last step in this tutorial. So this basically shows the actions we need to take for customers to either say approved or declined. And we have a reference of it now. If I have a look there, okay. So this would be all the customer information. We have all the information we need here to action an actual to action a request, a credit invoice, and that will be in a separate tutorial. Hope that makes sense. Any questions?